Chapter 18 Case File SIO9 Chapter Shaman Reassemble Chiang Mai Tarn's house was an applied Thai-style wooden one in which the area was as large as or even larger than Paya's one. This was Nirasuksawat house, handed down since the time of his great-grandmother. However, Tarn didn't feel much connection to this place, as he had hardly spent time here. Grandma! Tarn walked up to hug his grandmother in her blue, lavish, traditional clothes and wither himself. Where's Mom? In her room. Without wasting time, Tarn walked into the room. As soon as he saw his mother lying with a pallid face with no trace of flush, Tarn felt his heart tighten, the chest hollowed with dread coursing into veins. The picture of Luang Por, once Tarn tried to stop his blood while waiting for the ambulance, shot right back into his mind. Tarn! Mom's eyelids opened to look at him. Her weak voice called out his name while revealing a thin smile. Tarn strode forward to sit on her bed, holding his mom's small, bony hand with his own, trembling. Mom, what happened? How did you come to this? Tarn asked out from his well of tears. Mom shook her head wearily, said nothing, and just smiled at him. Tarn looked at his grandmother. Grandma! The old lady adopted a troubled expression. She gazed at her daughter and then gazed at Tarn. She's been sick since last week, and the doctor couldn't find the cause. Her daughter unexpectedly fell ill without an actual reason. She passed out last week, and her health went all downhill ever since. A few days ago, her heart acutely stopped beating, which terrified everyone in the house. Cal, her daughter, didn't want her to tell Tarn that she was sick, but a mother like her couldn't stand the sight of her daughter passing away like this, and couldn't either stand her grandson suffering from it. Thus, she decided to call Tarn over here. Tarn frowned. Last week? Why didn't anyone tell me? Tarn involuntarily raised his voice at his grandmother. Tarn, I told Grandma not to tell you myself. His mother sounded weak as she spoke, tugging Tarn's hand to look at her. Please, don't blame it on your grandma. Tarn choked back tears, glancing at his mother with bloodshot eyes. You and Dad are so much alike. What happens to you? Or what troubles you? You never let me know. Tarn. The mother's heart was hollow, looking at her son full of guilt. She only did it out of much love and much care, but she overlooked that these actions would hurt her own son. Tarn swallowed hard in his throat. No more talk. Please take a rest. Tarn paused a little once he remembered something. I'll bring you an item that Wangpo has given me to you, Tarn said in a hasty manner before darting to pick a charm pouch that Luang Pu had given him at the same time as Paya and handed to his grandmother. I will hold Mom up. Grandma, please help me put the charm under the pillow. Tarn held his mother in his arms for his grandmother to lift the pillow and put the charm under it, and then he rested her back on the mattress. The item that Wangpo gave to you, is it good to give to me? You're my mom, and the item is mine. It should be fine to give it to you. Tarn lifted her hand to kiss it softly. The mother unfurled a faint smile and stroked her son's hair gently. Are you here alone? What about Tarn's man? Isn't he here with you? She wanted to see the man who possessed Parad, the man who could save her son. Taya has to work. He stays to take care of personal leave for me too. The thing about him and Paya, He regularly texted and talked through video calls to his mother until only last week when he was too busy to talk to her. Tarn gazed at his mother's wan face and snuggled his face to hold her. Stay with me, Mom. Please, stay strong. Please stay. Don't leave him alone. He wasn't ready to lose his mother. Tarn. Don't say anything. I know what you're going to say. I don't want to hear it. He knew that human lifespan was uncertain and unsustainable. He knew it was it as he was raised on wrong force principle in a temple. He knew it too well. I want you to stay with me. Tarn closed his eyes to breathe his mother's faint, pleasant smell while receiving the light strokes from her on his hair. I love you, Tarn, the mother said with tears seeping out, lowering her gaze to see her son nestling in her chest. Her heart sank. The time between her and her son was too short. She just owned a chance to stay with him, talk, and hold him. Why? Why don't you spare time for her and Tarn a little more? Just pulling him away from her when he was a child wasn't enough. Ravi One wearily moaned to herself. Tarn lifted his gaze to see his mother. He saw his mother had fallen asleep despite her hand still on his head, so he grabbed her thin, tapering hand to place it on her chest, arranged the blanket for her, and left the room. He met his grandmother sitting, waiting outside with her downcast expression. Tarn headed to her. I have something to ask you, Grandma. Please do. Tarn dropped himself to sit beside her. Before Mom was so sick like this, did anything happen to her? Tarn believed that other than his mother's sickness, something more was yet to be revealed by these two adults. The grandmother unveiled a faint smile. As I can expect from you. He knew it. Without needing her or anybody to tell, Tarn still knew it with his intuition. Is there anything? His grandmother nodded. About the mine at Sarimbong Forest. Tarn furrowed his brows. What happened? Sarimbong Forest is next to our forest concession territory. Next to Sarimbong Forest is the KG Mining Company. Is it far from us? I'd say it's a fair distance, many tens of kilometers away. But Sarimsung Forest Territory is where the folks live, and some of them work for us. Tarn fell deep into thought. Did they dump toxic waste into the environment and it's harming the folks in the area? The grandma gave a downcast look and nodded. I guess you knew it. Your mother bows to no one, especially when it comes to reckless and irresponsible acts. She went over to complain to the mine owner. Such a big matter happened. Why didn't you let me know? Your mother didn't allow me. Also, she was busy finding evidence against taking the villagers for examinations, collecting water, soil, polluted dust samples, and examining them, not to mention contacting the government officers. But then it all quieted down so quickly. Why? Grandma let out a sigh. KG Company has a powerful figure to back them up. Moreover, the villagers were afraid of their power and that their homes would be destroyed, so they didn't help us prove against them. Was the KG mine under Mr. Montrese' umbrella? It was likely that the investor from KG Company was Mr. Montrese' acquaintance. Son of a bitch. Please don't worry, Grandma. I'll take care of it. How will you take care of it? I'll find the evidence to prove against them. In this matter, he would have to ask Timor for help. Many of Timor's friends were expert. He should provide the information and campaign to make it nationally widespread. Once he came up with that idea, Tarn sent a message to Dr. Shalatorn. He remembered that or two of his friends were environmentalists. He wanted Timor to help him contact them. Tarn lifted his gaze to his grandmother. I'll have Timor to take care of this. I'll make Mom's determination come true. If Mom wanted to help the villagers, he would join her. His grandmother teared up, looking at her grandson and pulling him into a hug. That territory belonged to our ancestor, so Cow wouldn't back down until she fell ill. Tarn hugged her in return, while his grandmother stroked his back to comfort him. Tarn questioned to himself whether he was right to pursue his career as a law enforcement officer, letting his grandmother and mother work hard alone at Chiang Mai like this. Madam, madam! The voice from Orn Karn Kam erupted at the sight of a thin figure in traditional brown clothes. She came forward and sat on the floor. His grandmother withdrew from Tarn, wiped her tears, and asked Orn Kam, What's the matter, Orncam? People from Rim Ring came to see you. Tarn tightened his brows. The villagers came to see them? Are they from the village that Mom needs to help? His grandmother nodded in response to Tarn before walking hand in hand to see those people. Shh! A whiff of wind fanned his face, followed by a whisper in both of his ears. The wind whirled in his audio sense, faded when Storm took his grandmother to sit on the chair. The visitor consisted of a middle-aged lady in traditional tribal clothes, a middle-aged man sitting next to her, a young man who should be 2 or 3 years younger than Tarn in a white shirt and jeans, and a grizzled old man with his black eye rims. The moment Tarn met the eyes of the elderly man in white clothes, the other person tensed his brows, scrutinizing Tarn pensively, and spat his chewing brattle in a spoon. Madam, Sawadee Dao. Everybody showed their greeting gesture to the house owner, except the grizzled old man in white. Dao, the ending word like ka and kap, but it's a neutral gender and used by the northern people of Thailand. What's the matter? Kampor, one fa. Kampor was a chubby middle-aged man, and one fa was a middle-aged lady. They were spouses. When Cal found the evidence against the mining company, these two people were the ones who brought the folks to be her witnesses. We heard that Tao is very sick, so we brought poor Tao Mendam and his son to pay a visit. You shouldn't have. Yes, we should. Cow always helped us all. How can we ignore her? One Pa kept on explaining before looking at the old man, saying, When we heard that Cow is seriously sick, we did as much as we could. We consulted it with poor Tao. He said she is seriously ill because someone cast a spell on her. Thorne's eyebrows twitched. He automatically exchanged his gaze with his grandmother, and that was when he realized that his grandmother had a mutual idea with these people. Tarn, on the other hand, sensed something wrong inside his mother's room. That's why he brought his charm to place under his mother's pillow. Or was that heavy, shadowy air around his mother caused by the magic spell? What kind of spell? A black spell, voodoo spell, all those malevolent spells, young man. The old man inhaled and spoke. I'm here to see your mother's condition and help her exorcise malevolent spells. It means if we exorcise the malevolent spell, my mom will return to her good health? Of course. His grandmother reached out to squeeze Tarn's hand gently. It's worth trying, my child. Tarn stared at these four villagers and felt somewhat distrust toward them. There was a sign telling him that these people were here for some suspicious purpose. Tarn sank into contemplative thought and said nothing. The lull was long enough that it formed tension between them, who felt as if the young policeman was looking at them to find fault, like they were scrutinized. Fair enough, but the malevolent spell was light. Tarn wanted to know it as well. Von Orn, son of Kampor and Wanfa, looked at Tarn in dissatisfaction with his slow decision and gave them an insulting look. Are you high and mighty much? Just having the blood of Chiang Mai ruler, you can look down on people? Seeing the glare from Ton Orn, Torn quickly asked, What are you looking at? Ton Orn's mother beat on her son's thigh and bowed him down to not cast an inappropriate look like that. Torn shifted his gaze to the elderly man. If you do anything bad to my mom, I'm not going to have respect for you, poor thou. Not caring, neither young nor old, and not that he was disrespectful or anything, but there was something fishy in them indeed. The SI office. 3 days later, Torn still took his day off because his mother hadn't fully recovered, so he requested to prolong his stay in Chiang Mai until his mother returned to her full health. Are you kidding me? The big case is coming. Every mess is all at once. And Shima threw a document file on the table and exhaled a heavy sigh like a ferocious bull. Everyone in the office held their tongue. No one said a word except Paya, who kept sending messages to Tarn relentlessly. Paya! You dare to ignore me? Huh? Paya tightened his brows. He read the message on his phone and almost wanted to throw it, but he couldn't. He could only grit his teeth and secretly plan his trip. Paya! I'm calling you! Can't you hear me? Ajima walked up to Paya's desk with arm akimbo and shouted her question to the young policeman with a harsh tone. Paya gazed up at Ajima and said with unconcern, Captain, I'll take the day off. Ajima was fuming, her hand raised, ready to land on Paya, but she was charged by Kem and Singh, who rushed to lock her arms just in time. Captain, easy. Don't blow up just yet. Kem wasn't ready. You all hear him out. He said he would take a day off. How dare he? Do you have no respect for me at all? Take a day off whenever you want? Kaya couldn't care less whether the female captain would be angry or dissatisfied. Whatever happened, he would fly to see Tarn today. I'll go. You! Ajima darted to Paya, but Singh and Kem held her back tightly. Tong Tai was reading the case file, flitting his gaze, and said, Captain, I think we all have to take the day off this time. Everybody switched their gaze to look at Tong Tai with doubt. Ajima hurled her arms back from the restraint, making her way to him and picking up the case file to read the work location. Chung Mai? Ajima let out a sigh, looking back at Paya, stoically saying, No need to take a day off anymore. Wait to go together today. Ask Tarn to find a place for us to stay too. Paya nodded in acknowledgement and pressed call to Tarn, walking off to talk on the phone outside. We will operate this mission in Chiang Mai. Singh accompanied her for the work details. Yes, I'll have Dong Tai update information in kind for you all. Now, Dong Tai updated the new function in Kind database, and the database that Dong Tai had would be automatically synced. Everybody could access the information without updating it periodically. Get ready, we're leaving. Hajima peeked at her wristwatch. 6 p.m. After, I have someone to collaborate with the local officials. Copy. Chiang Mai, Nirasuk Sawat House. I'll take care of it for you, Tarn. From the evidence that your mother has found,
I think it should be alright. I'll form a team to go on the field, and we may need your crew to lead us.
Numpap, an environmentalist and friend of Shalatorn, told him that after clearing up his work in Bangkok, he brought his team to Chiang Mai to check the initial document. He and his team agreed to take on this case. Yes, thank you so much for coming to help me, Bap.
Don't mention it. This is what I'm good at. I have to go now. Got to go, Torn.
Numpap said goodbye to Shalatorn, who nodded in response before getting in the van to take care of his accommodation during his stay for this case. Tarn let out a relieved sigh, looking at Shalatorn in the eyes and flashing a beam. A big thanks for your help, Timor. Shalatorn smiled.
Glad that I could help.
Do you want to see the lotus together? I heard my grandma say she has just built a lotus pond.
Of course.
Tarn led Shalatorn to the lotus pond. They both walked to a brown wooden pavilion, watching the beauty of the blooming white sacred lotuses. The sun rays that shone on these pure, white flowers only made them glow more brilliantly. Tarn was excited by the picturesque scene in front of him and felt moved by it. Such an aesthetic and valuable aspect of nature. On the other hand, the lotus in the pond reminded Shalatorn of his pre-existence. Tarn loved using these lotus petals to tuck in her hair.
Did you know another name for the white lotus?
Yes? Oh, I have idea about these things, Paymore. I only know how to arrest bad guys. Tarn's words mixed with his laughter. Shalatorn turned to meet Tarn in the eye.
Another name for white lotus is Satavut.
Tarn raised his brow questioningly, but it turned into a furrow shortly after. This name rings a bell, like he had heard it before.
Tarn, can I ask you frankly? Tarn and Paya have already thought it through to see each other? Your family's side and his side.
Tarn cast a glance at Shalatorn and unfurled a thin smile. If they complain about it, then so. I don't care. Life is generally full of happiness and sadness, and when we can choose to be happy, so why do we have to choose to be sad?
In the future, he would.
Let it be a matter for the future, Timor. I want to live my life in the present. I want to seize the day so I won't regret it tomorrow.
Tarn,
I know that you care about me, but I. Tarn dropped his gaze downward. I don't know why, but I trust in Paya so much. He trusted and believed in Paya unconditionally. Shalatorn clenched his fist. Those eyes were full of distress once he looked at Tarn. Then he blinked the steam in his eyes away, abruptly turned toward the lotus pond, and murmured to himself.
some people were just lucky
Yes?
to receive plenty of chances over and over again, while some people never have that chance at all. As time goes by, the more he faded from that mind.
He just wanted to have that chance, but Vasa never let him earn it, always keeping his eyes focused on Naparuch. Never be distracted by anything else. Timur, what was he bluesy about? Ding! Ding! Timur, please excuse me. I'm picking up the phone. Tarn said and walked off to talk on the phone with Paya. Shalatorn's sight followed Tarn's back. He closed his eyes. No matter how many lives have gone by, your love is always for him, devoted to one who neither protected nor cared for you. And I can only watch your demise, unable to intervene. Why? Why do you love him so, even though you once loved me and me alone? Be more! Tarn walked back to Shalatorn. I need to take care of a place to sleep for the DSI team. We'd better go back now. Shalatorn's eyebrows slightly tensed, and then turned into a faint smile as he nodded lightly. Tarn escorted Dr. Shalatorn to his accommodation and rushed to the homestay to reserve accommodation for the team. The Department of Investigation team had now arrived in Chiang Mai, but since everyone was here all of a sudden, Tarn couldn't accommodate them with a place to stay just in time, so Mom offered everyone Grandma's homestay instead. Luckily, they have three vacancies, just right for every member of the DSI team. Can we stay here? Tarn asked Ajima, who was looking around the homestay. Of course! Thank you for your trouble. My pleasure. I'm glad that the office supports my grandma's business. Tarn said with a smile. Ajima wrung her nose in sulky irritation before she continued the question. What about your mom? She's not getting better, right? Tarn nodded in response. She is so much better now. After taking part in that eerie ritual that elderly man, his mom fully recovered as if she had never been sick before. If Tarn didn't witness it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it as well. Good. So you can assist us with work again. Yes, I have to go now. Ajima nodded in acknowledgement, so Tarn walked off from Ajima's homestay. The moment he went downstairs, he saw Paya crossing his arms with a sullen face. Tarn looked around his neck. You're having a stern face. What's the matter?
How many days Dr. Shalatorn have already been here?
Paya rigidly asked under his cold face and fierce eyes. Tarn took a step back and looked at him confusingly. He's been here for 2 days already. Why? Paya didn't answer but draped around Tarn's neck, rushing him to the room. I have my people brought your personal stuff to the room. Tarn wriggled, but Paya didn't let him off his hold.
I haven't seen you for many days.
Just only 3,
It's many days for me.
Paya said placidly, locking his gaze at him. Tarn became wordless and couldn't stand a chance to refuse to. All he could do was let Mr. Golden Boy have his way. Mm, mm. Tarn pounded on Paya's back for him to back away and closed the door locked before rushing to kiss Paya, draping two arms around the tall person's neck to himself. Those tongues that tangled in one another's mouths were consuming. The noisy smooches caused the one who made his first move to blush aflame. When Tarn slightly backed out to breathe, Paya tilted Tarn's nape to plant a kiss on the lips, snapped and clapped, ripped and sipped in mild aggression. He departed and kissed it to comfort it before inserting his tongue to explore the familiar taste in that mouth cavity hungrily. Tarn's absence for just 3 days made Paya miss him like crazy. Mm-mm,
Miss you.
Paya told him. Sad smirked. Both hands stroked his back, found their way to those two buns, and gently squeezed them. Tarn's face heated up, looking Paya in the eyes and putting hand on his knotty hand. Don't!
Why not? We've seen each other for 3 months already.
Paya fastened his hold and squeezed Tarn's face for their fronts to touch. They snuggled up to one another until they puffed up tightly in their pants. Paya! Tarn blushed red. He couldn't voice out to restrain that man, as he was craving it no less than Paya. He would miss Paya so much as well.
Hmm, it's getting hard on. Help me.
Paya leaned over to whisper with a quivering voice beside Tarn's ear, stuck his tongue out to lick it, and then nibbled on that earlobe. Tarn compressed his lips tightly, tingling from head to toe, but it got him to indulge in desire. Tarn untied Paya's belt, lowered himself to kneel on the floor, and tugged down the tall person's undergarment. The unusual size of the manhood popped out and almost hit his face. Tarn gulped his saliva down the throat, then showered a kiss on Paya's tattoo before trailing his tongue over to lick and swallow that hot shaft into his mouth.
Darn.
Paya's heart was hammering as he watched his lover engulfing his passion pillar, firing up his sensation to the point that he was ready to release. However, Paya wanted to finish it together with Tarn, so he pulled Tarn out of his heated manhood. He bent over to give a devouring kiss, pushed the slim man to lie on the floor, and slipped those trousers and underpants off, dodging the sensitive part of brush and mold. Fire! Tarn's stomach coiled up like a series of shock waves ran through his body. His heart was frenziedly pounding. Both arms encircled Paya's shoulder, as well as the legs looped around that trim waist, willing to follow Paya in every move. Paya sunk his face, crunched and munched on the slope of that shoulder until it formed rosy marks on Tarn's white yellowish skin, reiterating whispers into Tarn's ear over and over.
Miss you. I miss you, Tarn.
Tarn tugged his embrace around Paya. His breath hitched, his head shambled, unable to think of anything else but Paya's name, and a tingling sensation filled his mind. Paya! I can't hold it back anymore.
Almost there.
Paya kissed Tarn's eyelid and drew back as he hastened his stroke. Soon after, two bodies twitched and unleashed their elixir concurrently. Paya exhaled a sigh, leaned forward to plant a light kiss on Tarn's swollen lips, then plunged himself to lie next to Tarn on the floor and grabbed that slim body to hold it tightly.
When are you going to let me in?
Had Tarn ever known how much patience it took him to wait? Whenever he decided not to wait, Tarn would start his melancholic drama and sob. Then how the heck could he ever molest Tarn? Seeing those tears, his heart always weakened. I'm afraid of the pain. He heard from Beamon that it was so painful the first time. He couldn't put up with it just yet and also secretly found a way to top Paya in the back of his mind.
The cup must endure pain.
Paya stroked Tarn's back gently. Tarn wrinkled his nose. Let me dub you then.
If only you could.
Tarn's face was sullen. No more squabble was made. Meanwhile, Paya was thinking of a move to make Tarn consent. His first attempt was to get Tarn drunk. It ended up in Tarn's bowling, and he didn't dare to do anything more again. It wouldn't work to use the same old trick.
I've studied it well. I know the way to not cause you pain.
What way? Paya flipped over to be on Tarn's top.
Want to try?
Paya asked, with those eyes gleaming like a fox. Tarn pushed Paya away and rose to his feet. Try it yourself, asshole. I'm going to shower. That behavior was so untrustworthy. Paya smirked mischievously, leering at Tarn from the rear view. He bit his lower lip before following the other person inside the bathroom, snuggling up for two more times before rejoining their coworkers at the dining table by the riverside for work discussion and snacks. Tarn had initially invited his mother and grandmother to join them, but they wanted them to have personal time, so they refused to join. It is the narcotics case. We're just here to find them clues and return. We didn't get our hands dirty ourselves, said the Chima in a businesslike manner. Singh spoke out of shame.
Why not? We managed to be here in Chiang Mai. Why don't we arrest them ourselves?
Doesn't it mean we were here for nothing? I wish we would, but the local police were uncooperative. They restrained their work scope to not let us meddle.
So, what did they call us to come here for?
Yeah, I said frustratingly. Ojima answered, clearly upset. Just perfunctory, I guess. Tarn didn't say anything. He knew all too well who these local policemen were under. Captain, so how can we find that clue? Did they send any information to us?
The information they sent is pretty strange.
Thong Tai said in a solemn tone. While Thong Tai was waiting for the meeting, he skimmed through the information.
The information was sent in two files from the same computer, but by different person.
The information inside was the same? Tai shook his head.
The second one has more details than the first one. Probably one of the local officers is helping us.
Aya said while emitting a smile. Who is he? And what's the point of doing so? Ajima asked doubtfully. The reason for hiding himself in the dark signified that this case wasn't just ordinary, like the commander had told her. After the meeting, Tarn and Paya walked home together, using the light from the torch to guide the way. Paya grumbled, feeling slightly regretful to not see Tarn's mother and grandmother as they went to bed early. That's why Tarn didn't bring his friend to introduce themselves to her. Tomorrow, I'll bring you to know my mom.
Hmm,
But get up early too.
why?
We will offer food to the monks in front of my house together. Paya smiled and tightened his embrace around Tarn's neck contently. Tarn laughed in his throat, walked and talked to Paya all the way back home. When they were about to reach the stairs in the background, the commotion of a firing gun exploded 3 times in a row. Paya and Tarn trailed around and rushed back to the scene. Upon their arrival, they saw Yai, Tong Tai, and Ojima clustered in front of the homestay door of Kem and Singh. Tarn inserted himself through to see what happened. He saw Kim and Singh gasping for air in the opposite corners, aiming their guns at one another, and it looked like Kim was injured too. What happened here? Why you shot each other? Ajima asked out of fright. Their faces was discolored as if they had seen a ghost.
We saw, we saw.
Singh couldn't believe what he had just seen, the thing that he had never imagined seeing before in life. Singh's hand was quaking, fearing everyone that he would misfire. Ajima approached to snatch that gun and plunged herself beside her brother.
Ken,
Yai grabbed Kemp's weapons himself and squeezed his shoulder to regain consciousness.
what the fuck happened here? Can anybody explain it to me?
Tongue Tai harshened the question. The atmosphere before them suddenly became uncomfortably cramped and unnervingly eerie. Tarn stepped inside the room. A wisp of wind fanned him, a shaking coldness, followed by a reel of scenarios flashing in his head. Tarn held his head and suddenly collapsed onto the floor. His eyes frenziedly blinked, showing the white of his eyes like someone having a seizure.
Darn!
Kaya and Tom Tai were the two closest ones to Tarn, holding him, who was laying seizing on the ground with terror. Tom Tai, who could gather his wits before everyone else, called the ambulance. Yai was about to approach Tarn to check, but Kem halted him by the waist and wailed.
It must be him. It must be him for sure. Well, Mama, Ken wants to go home.
Ajima watched the situation ahead of her in panic. What the hell was going on with her team? End of chapter 18.